So what are we going to call this?
So I'm partial to either couch from the couch, or because whether we're at someone's house or we're at the office, there's couch.
How about from the trailer to the couch?
What do you think about that? So, the first inaugural.
Inaugural?
I
think that's a word.
This is the inauguration of From the Trailer to the Couch. We did Juan and I did a little chat last week, and it kind of sparked, hey, we should do this every week. So, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Ryan Dansby. I don't know what I am or who I am besides that. There you go. There's my introduction.
He is the oaf we talked about last week. That's 7 foot tall. And the Browns hat. No, he is one of our trailer experts. He's also kind of taken over the role of customer experience dude. He makes sure your interactions with us are 100% on point. If not, we figure out how to fix it, and we do. And he's the one that reaches out to you with that. This is Juan. Go ahead and reintroduce yourself, Mr. Dos Equis.
Juan Hernandez. I am the sales manager / production manager. Mr. Get Shit Done.
And I am Kiefer. I am the creative director, so I handle a lot of the marketing, the websites, the media, the content creation, forcing these poor victims to be in front of the camera with me. And
sits in a dark room and watches videos on the internet.
Pretty much.
And creates the videos on the internet. All right. So this week we have a few questions. And so the way this is going to work is whoever wants to answer, go ahead and answer. We're going to start off with, what is the biggest thing that is in our industry right now that we're fighting? So what is the biggest holdup in our industry? What's coming that we need to know about that is just like wrecking shop right now?
Supply chain.
China.
Yeah.
Too dependent on China.
Yeah, unfortunately the supply chain is tight. It's hard for anybody to get what they need right now, especially in the trailer world.
I think any world, really.
Yeah, really.
I mean,
we're fortunate that we have some really good connections and suppliers that take care of us. So
yeah, and then some of our vendors are even behind and they're working their butt off. Like, we have plenty of stock, but there are those things that we don't have in the yard that we need to get out. And we have some really good vendors helping us out, being like, hey, look, these are limited. I'm going to go ahead and ship them to you. Don't let this bite me in the rear end. Like, there's a lot of favors going on the things that we do need.
Scratch your back, I scratch my back.
yeah.
I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest things right now. And so if someone was going to come in, you know, we're going to NATDA. We're going to be talking to a lot of new manufacturers, some new repair shops, but there's, I want to say last week we said there was 80-something new businesses inside of the trailer sector. What is the biggest piece of advice that you would give the repair shops right now?
Man, stock up.
Yeah.
Get it while you can, because
Build enough capital.
Yeah. The way I got a newsletter the other day said that one of the ports was shut down for 6 days and anchored 50 container ships.
Good.
And they were rerouting everybody to the other side to get unloaded. So
that's insane, because that's a lot of parts and a lot of steel for other industries as well.
That is
just tied up.
That's where it's causing a lot of your price increase on a lot of stuff, because of the fuel charge or the fuel surcharge of having to go all the way around again just to unload. So,
not even to mention the trucking from port at that point.
Yeah.
And the time delays, and then you have a lot of times you have customs that they still have to go through after that, all the checkpoints there, and then finally to the freight company, to us, or to that manufacturer. And that's insane right now, because I know a lot of, if you're a repair shop or you're a manufacturer, we have one trailer waiting to be built at the shop that it's a week and a half out on lights, something that's usually a next day item. So overall, stock up. that'd be your piece of advice.
Yeah, pretty much. Stock up, build a relationship. Really.
Well, I know like the modern take on inventory on hand is to have as little on hand as possible. And it saves you in your taxes and when it comes to assets and everything else. But in this market, it doesn't work that way because you have to build up capital within your inventory to be able to supply what your customers are demanding. Because you don't know when that port's going to get shut down. You don't know when gas prices are going to hit the roof and your freight goes, insane because of it. In this market, you have to have it on hand. Otherwise, somebody's going to go to somebody else.
Just because there's 44,000 of them available doesn't mean that they're accessible right now.
Exactly.
Correct.
And I know we're actually fighting some of those issues with some of our vendors right now when they have, 32 of an axle that we need, or let's say lights or wheels, whatever that component is. Yeah, we have those, but they're already spoken for. Or, hey, yeah, we have those, but we can't get them to you. So the whole supply chain is breaking down at the moment. But like I said, we have a lot of products on hand ready to ship out.
Oh yeah, we got a container today, and then I got another container coming in tomorrow. So we're pretty good. I mean, we're still hurting for some things, but we're sitting pretty good.
So for our customers, a little patience, a little of understanding during the supply chain breakdown that the whole U.S. is dealing with. But overall, we're trying our best to get our stuff out. The stuff we have on hand will be shipped. If not, give us a little bit of time to get that in.
And the second part to the question of, what about somebody who's starting up a new repair facility or whatever the case may be, build the proper relationships. You really need to focus on building the proper relationships, making sure that people understand that you're going to be there buying from them. And then that comes to their mind, hey, I've got a limited amount of this product. Who do I need to call that's going to need this product?
Yeah.
So that you're on their mind and they say, hey, I know the trailer parts outlet is going to want some of these and we're going to make sure they get theirs because they're a good customer. You build those relationships right, and then your supply chain is going to be a little less inhibited. Whereas a lot of people, they're jumping from this manufacturer to this manufacturer back and forth. None of them know if they're going to be steady income. Build the relationship correctly so that they know that you're going to be coming to them every single time, and they're going to make sure they have what you need.
Yeah. Well, that's the basis of any customer service,
exactly.
Though, whether it's B2B, B2C. When you're on the phone with someone, whether you're calling a fleet up to see if they need any new repairs, or if you're calling up to say, hey, I've got X number of these, do you want these? It all goes back to relationship.
Exactly.
We've hit the Inc 5000 4 times in a row. We didn't do that by not building relationships. Our customers come first. Whether that's an extra hour in the evening or answering a phone call at 8 o'clock at night, or if we don't have something in stock, literally buying it from another competitor, shipping it to them, and not raising the price on them.
Exactly.
It comes down to that relationship and finding how to build that in a way that doesn't, hey, just give me money. It's showing that effort, showing that relationship being built.
And that goes across all spectrums of the business, from the top to the bottom, which, hence the job that I have. My job is to build that relationship with the customer so that I know, hey, this person is working on these things and we got this shipment in, so I can give them a call and say, hey, I know you've been trying to get a hold of these. I have these in stock.
Yep. So speaking of your position and what you do, you've had a couple interesting phone calls with some customers this week.
Absolutely.
Before we start, hand me my beer. So, we have two from you. So, start when you're ready.
All right. Well, I think the best conversation that
no names will be mentioned.
No.
You will, if you are this person, you will know, but we are going to protect the identity of this person. We shall call them Chad.
Well, I think the first example is going to be somebody who's not going to see this podcast. He was an elderly gentleman from Arkansas. Really nice guy. Talked to him for probably 15-20 minutes. He gave me a whole history of the area of Arkansas he lived in.
And what area was that?
That would be Flippin, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
He went to great detail about, the Flippin jail that was on Main Street and the Flippin police in the area and the Flippin industry and infrastructure of the town. And then he went on to, invite me formally to become part of the flipping community because he enjoyed our conversation so much.
Would you attend Flippin' Baptist Church?
Don't know if I would or not, but I would sure stand by the pulpit for him if they invited me.
By the way, throughout this series, you will find out that Ryan and I are both pastors, and then Juan does a lot of extra stuff as well. He actually leads Faith Fridays on Dad Lives Matters a lot. Just look it up on TikTok. Great group of guys. But what about your second one?
Well, my second one was a little bit more interesting and quite a bit shorter. Talked to a gentleman. I call and I do follow-ups on products that were purchased to make sure they were received as expected and that the application was correct and everything else, and to see if they're happy with the product. I called this gentleman. I could tell he was, what I thought was tired, probably just woke up. But come to find out, it wasn't just the time difference from Texas to the West Coast. He told me, well, I've smoked way too much this morning to know what you're talking about. So please remind me what I bought.
So there's some elevation difference there.
And so I reminded him what he bought and what he bought it for, and he said, "Oh yeah, man, I remember that. That thing worked out beautifully, man."
SoCal speech pattern
absolutely,
and everything.
Total SoCal surfer type.
Cowabunga on that one. Yeah, I've done a few sales calls. I've always got the mundane, how's your mom, how's your dog kind of thing. But I haven't got to experience any of those. I think I've answered 11 calls out of 4 years, just when everybody else was plastered to the walls and I had to grab a phone because it was going crazy. Juan, on the other hand, has years of phone calls and customers and amazing stories. Is there a specific one from this week that stands out?
I mean, it wasn't a phone call, but good customer of mine, actually a good friend of mine, came in and got some parts from me, and we went to lunch. So I have to spend some one-on-one with the customer and see how his family was and vice versa.
So how do you get to a point where you're like, well, first off, did he invite you to lunch or you invited him to lunch?
He invited me.
How do you get to that point to where your customers are like, hey, let's go grab some lunch?
Integrity.
Down to earth. Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Because I know I've seen you interact, and you know a lot of the local customers too.
Yes.
But I've seen you interact with some of the best customers we have, and
some of the worst.
Some of the worst. So I know more than likely they're the cause of some blood pressure medicine having to be taken, because I've seen your face turning about as red as a beet.
There was it this week?
Yeah. Last week.
Yeah, last week and this week. So, I mean, you can only do so much, and like Ryan said and Kiefer said, we'll bend over backwards to try to help the customer out and make sure he gets taken care of to the best of our ability. But there are certain things that are just out of our control, and one of those is freight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we cannot control freight. The way they handle some of the packages is not the best. We can't control that. They put it on a train and ship it to you, and it's stuck on a cart somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, I will say it takes a lot for me to get to that point.
But this dude did it.
And to point out how far we go, a good example is freight is notorious when it comes to shipping axles for damaging the grease caps.
Yeah.
And we put 2 more on there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we took it upon ourselves to throw 2 extra grease caps on every axle shipment, so that if anything happens to the ones that are installed, the people are taken care of. But like you said, we can't control what freight does.
Now, in that instance, we're talking about axles. If you get an axle and like if the grease caps are dented or sometimes
give us a call.
Not on there, give us a call. There's some more on there, but before you go in and you do your return, call us, because there might be a really easy fix. Overnight, a couple dollars worth of stuff to you, instead of you having to pay return shipping on an axle to get it to us and us getting it back to you, where there's less time that you're hauling, less time you're making money with your trailer. So always when you get something from us, give us a call and see if we can get a resolution in place beforehand.
Yeah.
And we actually have a video series coming up. We're going to start filming next week, talking about when you get your axle, these are the parts, these are the issues you may have, and these are the resolutions for that. But how it's going to be shipped, what to expect, how it's going to, how we're going to wrap it, the things that come with it, and everything you need for that specific axle, whether it's parts, whether it's a process, whatever that is, we're going to get that in one video for you. So when you order your, let's say, 3.5K braking axle, you'll know exactly how that's going to come, what to expect, and what the parts are in case you ever need to get anything else. So stay tuned for that one. That we should have those out in a few weeks to a month. We should be able to drop the first one of those. So the first question was, what is the biggest challenge facing our industry right now? More conceptual, but with being in the industry for a little while, I know we have been, and you've been around it for a while, doing oil and gas before this. What do you think this industry is going to look like in 10 years? The towing and hauling and trailers, and what do you think this is going to evolve into?
It's a good question. When it comes to everything, whether, in our society, we're looking for efficiency above all else. That's the idea behind the movement towards electric vehicles. That's the idea behind the movement towards just about every sustainable aspect of society that we have today, is making it more sustainable, more reliable, more efficient. I do think that we're going to see a change in the way that trailers are even constructed and the way they're used. We're going to see applications that are different than what we've seen before as far as what they're hauling, where they're hauling. It's really hard to say specifically, though, because we don't know what the future holds.
So my thought is it's going to get a lot more regulated.
No doubt.
Because the transportation codes, like moving something from one place to another, there's a lot of regulations with that, whether it's taxes, commerce, whatever that looks like, DOT regulations on how much you can carry. But when you look at the regulations of what qualifies as a trailer, there's not many regulations on builds or requirements for the build. So I think California, is the only state really cracking down on that. I've heard Georgia and Florida a little bit.
California has been for quite some time. It's one of the few states where you can't have a tandem container on the back of a big rig.
Yeah.
So, they have a lot of different transportation regulations that are a lot more strict than ours.
So I think we're going to start seeing a lot more legislation come out about the requirements, just like for any kind of vehicle, the regulations of building it. And I hope it's going to go one or two ways. It's either going to be someone in the industry standing up and saying, look, these are what we need to do, or worst case scenario, and I hope it doesn't happen, some politician saying, I want to write legislation for this and not knowing anything in the industry, which we've seen happen in America before, but it would self-correct after a while. But that'd be in 10 years. I think there's going to be a lot more legislation when it comes to the build, because people are now starting to ask, well, what are the requirements to build a trailer? Mm-hmm. One reason our blueprints that we sell with the Trailer Parts Outlet, they're created by Trailer Master Plans. They're DOT spec'd, and they're also engineer approved. So it's kind of a stepping stone, a good place to start. But, I think that's one of the biggest things that's going to be changing in our industry in the next 10 years.
Possible.
As Juan is connivingly sucking down a beer, he has thoughts on what I just said.
Man, I don't see it getting regulated much. I see more people that can go get into it as a startup company. One thing that I do see is that a lot of the ones already in the industry are going to move away from brokers and freelance more. Not talking bad about brokers, but
there's a lot,
Yeah.
Some of the brokers don't understand actually hauling. Some understand it way too well.
Yeah.
Well, also the industry is going to change a lot because we are in an instant gratification age. The idea of hot shotting something was more or less an oil and gas idea back in the day.
Yeah.
It's evolved to the point where you're going to see people hiring, a guy with his dually and a good-sized gooseneck to haul stuff across the country.
Get from point A to point B really fast.
Because people want what they ordered and they want it now,
But with that, what gets me is there's a definition for hot shot, and I think you pretty much explained it, or what it was, how it started. It's key point of having the proper equipment. And you see a lot of guys who want to just jump into it and then not know what they're doing. Don't know what GVWR is, or don't know what their payload is, or their net weight,
or at what point it requires them to have DOT control.
Exactly. And you see it all the time. You get drivers who'll just overload their trailers and bust axles, or bend the frame and blame it on the manufacturer for a bad built trailer. Which, I mean, to each his own, but it's all about knowing how to load, when to load, and I mean, we all want to make money, but at the end of the day,
knowing your limits.
Yeah, know your limits.
I spent a year at a trailer manufacturing company, and we actually tested out how much damage or how much weight would we have to put on one of these trailers to make damage. And one of them, it was a telescopic dump trailer, and we had a good 35,000 pounds past the GVWR on this trailer, and it still wanted to push. We stopped because the tire rods were about to go boom. Well, I remember the repair department over there would get pictures of bowed tanks on them, the actual dump beds, that, the hydraulic cylinders would be, oh, I never overloaded this. No, I never overloaded this. Yeah. No, I've never been a pound over my weight. And us knowing the limits of this trailer, like you either loaded that wrong, or you had that way overloaded going 80 down the highway.
So that's the key point. Loading it wrong is what will destroy your trailer.
I'm a child of the late 80s, early 90s. The height of the skateboard craze and X Games coming to life and everything else. A perfect example that people can think of if they've ever stepped on a skateboard is the distribution of weight. If you try to ride a skateboard and you don't know how to distribute your weight on that skateboard properly, that skateboard is going to send you into a ditch in a heartbeat. And it's the same way with a trailer. If you have a lopsided load, you're going to do damage to that trailer, and you're going to have no control over transport. And you've got to know how to load it correctly.
Amazingly, U-Haul has one of the best videos I've ever seen on how to load your trailer, where you want your weight. In the back, they had a little truck on this little bitty treadmill. Truck and a little tiny trailer. And it's going. It's empty. You can see it, jiggling a little bit.
A little bit fishtail, too.
They stopped it, put a die-cast car in the back of it, at the very back of the trailer. It's going crazy. Well, they moved it more tongue weight. But there's such a key to that. And I mean, we've had hotshot drivers come up and expect us to overload them just because they want to get it out there in one run and that kind of stuff. And we're like, we're a trailer company. We're not going to overload you or load you wrong here. Now, what you do down the road is up to you. Yeah. But us at our forklift, we're going to do it correctly.
Show up with a single axle trailer with a 3,500 pound axle, wanting you to load 15,000 pounds.
Yeah.
I hope you're right with Jesus, because that ain't going to turn out right.
Yeah.
So, being in the trailer industry, I know I have limited experience hauling trailers. First time I did, it was this really crappy trailer built by my father-in-law out of a bed truck, overloaded through middle of rush hour traffic in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was horrible. I'm surprised we didn't die. But since then, I've done a few trailers. I've survived. But for those...
Did the trailer survive?
Yes. Surprisingly, yes.
Just not in there.
There's a couple of stop signs that aren't there anymore. But what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to someone that is about to buy a trailer or bought a trailer and fixing it up that's never hauled with it before?
load securement.
Yeah, learn how to properly tie down your load.
I've seen so many people get hurt or cause an injury or cause an accident because improper securement of a load.
You know, you say load security, and every time I'm behind a freaking log truck,
Final destination.
Oh, 100% Final Destination. And that, like, you know, we grew up in the 90s, so we were barely allowed to watch Final Destination growing up, you know. But that's exactly where my head goes, is that's going to fall on me because there's no straps, there's no nothing. It's just the weight of that tree holding itself down.
The oil field company that I used to work for, we provided, you know, just about every type of service that was needed at an oil rig. You know, we'll keep them unnamed, but one of the biggest things that we did is we also supplied the ability for that rig to have internet access and Wi-Fi access, which meant that we hauled giant satellite dishes out there so that they'd be able to get the reception they needed out in the middle of nowhere. One of our guys didn't properly secure a load carrying a satellite dish. It ripped free from its bolts that was securing the dish itself. That dish flew off the back of the truck and into a family of 4. Took out the whole top of the car. Needless to say, he lost his job and went to jail. But there's repercussions for not properly tying down a load. It was part of our policy. He knew how to properly do it. He knew what was required of him, but he didn't do it. And people lost their lives because of it. That's how important it is to properly secure a load. So absolutely, the
better to have more straps than no straps.
Absolutely. And do not tie a knot thinking that that's equivalent to a strap.
By no means.
Which, if you need straps, go to thetrailerpartsoutlet.com. There's a little search bar. Click straps. This video is brought to you by the straps we sell. No, I'm kidding. It's actually brought to us by Dos Equis. Once again, not really. Continue.
But no, even with the straps, each strap is ready for its own capacity. Exactly. So you can't have something that weighs 10,000 pounds and have a strap that's ready for 2,000 pounds. You always want either to match or be at least 10 to 12% higher than what you're loading or hauling.
Do not go to your local 99-cent store to buy straps and think those are going to be sufficient.
Exactly. I mean, you got chains, you got chain binders, you got 4-inch straps, 2-inch straps. I mean, there's plenty of straps out there.
And they all have their proper use and proper time to use them.
So we've talked about industry news, industry forecasts, what our industry is struggling with, advice to new people coming up into this industry. I want to ask a couple questions about y'all, or us. So, Ryan, what drives you to do what you're doing right now for the Trailer Parts Outlet?
Well, as you spoke before, you know, I am a pastor of a church. One of my favorite things in the world is interacting with people and learning about different people from different backgrounds and different areas and everything else. That's something that I enjoy thoroughly. Now, I don't want to do it in person because I'd rather be by myself, and I'm quite a bit of an introvert. But the ability to do it in such a way that I'm talking to people on the phone, whatever the case may be, getting to know them and getting to know what drives them is what drives me. So just a few examples of what I've experienced in the past week or two. I've talked to people from Alaska, I've talked to people from New Jersey, I've talked to people from California, Washington, everywhere, and I've encountered so many different personalities, different characters, that it's like watching a good sitcom, you know, where you find these characters that you just really enjoy watching because they're so different than your normal everyday experience. And I get the same thing, the same kind of thrill, the same kind of drive out of talking to new people. I talked to a gentleman from Alaska and got to hear about the struggles of trying to get any kind of trailer park to Alaska. And, you know, that was something that had never occurred to me. It was not something that I'd ever even thought about before. And so anybody that knows me knows my number one thing is learning new things. You know, I'm a polymath all the way to my core, and I want to learn everything and not just learn it, but to become an expert at it. And so,
you know, I don't like sales. I'm not good in that position. I crumble. I love talking to people, though. You know, and to me, always throughout my life, I love exploring other cultures, getting to know other people, whether it's from a state over or the next city over or the next country over or a different religion than me or whatever. Being able to actually just stop and explore and learn about those people. You know, I'm born and bred Cajun. Like, I grew up Southern Louisiana. I move out to the middle of country Texas.
He doesn't know how to cook gumbo, though.
Dude, I do know how to cook gumbo.
Not as good as my California Valley wife.
Okay, the only difference is my wife doesn't like okra in hers, okay? I like okra in mine, but that's the sacrifice I make. But learning about these different cultures and these different people, you know,
if someone wants to send him a recipe on how to cook gumbo, we'll put his email in the link below. Go for it.
And my wife's tried to teach him. He's a hard learner.
I'm a hard learner.
Yeah.
People have a hard time learning me.
No, you have a hard time learning.
Learning. But that's one thing that's always fascinated me is the culture of people. And
Absolutely.
like, I'm kind of jealous because, 3 weeks ago you were stuck in a shop fixing stuff, no interaction, and now you are like neck deep in people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we'll be at NATDA, and then a couple months later we'll be at FFA in Indianapolis. Those are the highlights of my year because it's kind of salesy because you're talking to new potential customers, but it's conversation.
It's not salesy though. It's networking, relationship building.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
and that's the difference is, you know, I don't look at what I do as sales in any way. Now, do I answer the phone sometimes when the other sales reps are overrun and can't answer the phone because they're all on the line already? Absolutely. But I don't see what I do as sales. I see what I do as building a relationship.
So let me backtrack. It's a potential sales environment. So
there's always the opportunity for sales, but my number one goal is to help that person on the other end of that phone.
Absolutely.
So
and that's what I enjoy.
If that means that I'm giving them instruction or I'm giving them advice or I'm just helping them to understand what they're looking at in any way, you know, that's what's important to me because that goes back to the comment about what does somebody new in this industry need to know. I see it as no matter who you are, whether you're, you know, Joe Blow in Southern California who smoked too much this morning, the fact of the matter is even with your short-term memory loss, you might think, hey, that guy that I talked to at TTPO,
that guy
he's going to be able to help me out with what I need.
Might not remember the conversation that happened.
Absolutely.
So, but it's for me, I look at it from, that's more of a sales realm of building those relationships. So that's what I meant by salesy. So usually the only people I interact with are marketing vendors. Mm-hmm. So outside of that, I don't get to interact with a lot of customers. Occasionally, if there's a screw up on the website and the order just disappears.
So what you mean is you usually communicate via internet and Klingon?
No.
Not always.
No, actually this past week we had a guy that ordered on the website, and he called up, and I think it was Sarah that answered the phone. And hey, I placed an order, I don't see an order, but there's like a
Canada.
No, this guy was from that's something totally different. This guy ordered, but his whole order confirmation and everything on his side of things had just disappeared. Well, literally the first customer I've actually talked to in about 3 months. I talked to him and I'm like, hey, so what's going on? You know, I kind of manage a lot of this stuff. So I got an email saying you made an order. You got charged for an order, but you can't find your order. And ends up his bank, he had entered his card number wrong too many times and kind of froze up.
That is fraud.
And I had to go find it because it wasn't in the orders, or even like payment failed on orders. Somehow it got thrown in abandoned carts. So I had to go find that, and I was like, but I really enjoyed talking to the guy. He was an Asian American dude, had a little bit of an accent, and was from, I want to say he was from California, like Northern California. And so I started talking to him about that, like, so what's it like up there? You know, what's the weather doing?
On fire.
Yeah. Which is sad. And
dry.
Yeah, dry and fire right now. But, he was telling me about it, what's going on up there. That's something that we don't experience here in Texas. So I do get a little bit of that from time to time. Not often.
The fire.
Talking to other people and learning about
when he eats dinner here, he gets a lot of the fire.
I experienced that a minute ago.
Yeah.
He was choking up on that hot sauce. If anybody wants to make us a hot sauce, TTPO hot sauce.
There you go. That's where it is. If you can make a TTPO ghost pepper or scorpion pepper hot sauce, I guarantee you we will bring it right on the show, and we will make sure that everybody knows who your name is, because I am a sucker for a good hot sauce. I will eat it on every meal.
Man, we are just fishing for some kind of custom sponsored item here.
Hey man,
It's a win-win.
I like beer. I like hot sauce.
5,000, 4 years in a row. Fastest growing company.
So that still appalls me that after 4 years we're still hitting it, because making it once is crazy.
Absolutely.
And then you have to at least double or triple to make it again, and then your number's bigger.
Absolutely.
So you've still got to grow and grow and grow and grow to hit the next year, and we've hit it 4 years in a row.
Well, and what that comes down to is the leadership that we have in place.
Yeah.
The leadership that we have in place hires on people that have the same kind of drive.
But we don't
The same
hire
kind
for the
of
position.
push.
We hire for the person.
Exactly.
They might not have the experience. I know, right? I'm still trying to don't say that too loudly.
He came into the interview, started speaking Klingon, and everybody was like, "That's the guy we need for internet technology."
I am not IT. I am not IT.
I was waiting for it.
Oh gosh, I am not fixing your printer.
Okay, that's the guy we need to make websites right there. He can code stuff.
Yes, I can do that, and I do not speak
Okay,
Klingon.
maybe you spoke Elfin. I'm sorry.
Yes, okay. Lord of the Rings, I can handle that. Even though I am a Star Trek fan.
Good Lord, help us.
The day that transporters are created, the transportation industry is totally changing. Did you just live long and prosper the camera? Just Spock wave the camera? So proud of you. So proud. So Juan, we asked Ryan kind of what drives him. How did you get into this industry?
The company I was working for, that will not be mentioned, went bankrupt. So that's what happens when you work in an oil field. You gamble, but it's all right.
I hear that.
But I was sitting there at the house, and a buddy of mine, Trevor, called me and hey, there's a spot open that needs somebody who speaks Spanish. And I've done sales before in different levels. And
Let's do this.
a lot of sales experience. But I'm like, sure, why not? Went up there and liked the vibe, and never sold trailer parts. I've worked on trailers and sold car parts and stuff like that, but never trailer parts. So just started building relationships and getting to know my customers. And
I got to spin off something you said there, the vibe. The whole reason I came over to the trailer
Kiefer.
parts outlet,
Don't say
not
Kiefer.
because of Kiefer. No, that was actually something that kind of wanted me, urged me to stay away. But it was hearing the experience of working for the trailer parts outlet.
He's listened to me talk about working here for 3.5, 4 years now.
Exactly, the mentality, the culture.
We've been there the same amount of time. We've been there that long.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And we're veterans there now compared to everybody else.
But here's the thing: is I've been there for not very long now, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. It's so comfortable immediately. It's not anything that I can compare to anything that I've done before, and I've done everything from pouring and finishing concrete to working at a prison to working in the oil field.
We're not on a black couch. So that's one of the things. When a lot of companies go to hire someone and they say, "Yeah, we're a family atmosphere," huge turnoff. They're going to treat you like crap, and you're just a cog in the machine.
Or if not, then it's unless you know somebody important, you're
The oil field. Yeah,
exactly.
So like at the Trailer Parts Outlet, it's literally you step into a family atmosphere.
Yes.
And I hate saying that because of the stigma that goes with that with hiring these days.
But it's the only way you can truly describe the relationship there.
Well, for the first 2.5 years, we were an 8-person team running a multi-million-dollar revenue company, and we've grown to 28 employees. 22 employees now. Inc. 5000 4 times. Just got done with a huge expansion and remodel of our facilities.
Come check it out.
Yeah, 2209 I-45 North, Madisonville, Texas. We will give you a tour. We'll show you our stockyard. You'll be able to meet the trailer experts. You know, Ryan over here, Juan. You know, come check us out. We'd love to entertain you and kind of talk to you and kind of, you know, show you our digs.
And to put in perspective what I'm talking about with the whole family atmosphere thing is one of the questions, and the final question actually, during my interview for the position was, did your previous employer support, number one, your efforts in the church, being a pastor? Number two, did they support your time with your family? Well, the answer was no for both of those.
You were working darn near 80, 90 hours a week towards the end of your last job.
And it was amazing because I could see the change in not just the VP's face, but the owner's face, which is another thing, is the owner sat there during my interview, which is a huge impact and made a difference to me. And both of their responses to, we will never inhibit you from doing the things that are important to you.
Yeah, I know the last 3 years that's been amazing for me.
Yeah, I mean, to have a VP and an owner that say, no, we want you to be able to be active in your church, and we want you to be able to be active with your family, and those are the most important things.
So I know, like,
that's amazing.
For Wednesdays, it was automatic when you came on board because this is what I do.
Yeah.
Wednesday nights, we take off a little early so we can prepare for church that night. And I know there's been times that it's been last minute, someone at the church or someone in the church's family has passed away or in the hospital, and I've been able to take off, no questions asked, no matter what was going on. It's, hey, go take care of that. You know, they understand priorities. Now, I'm not saying work's not important, but they understand that, hey, we're both pastors. We have a congregation we're committed to. We get that. Make up the time elsewhere.
And on the flip side of that, the expectation from them is you put forth the effort and the attitude that makes that not an issue.
Exactly.
So that works.
And that's one of the beautiful things about where we work. And I know, Juan, with your kids and everything, there's times where you're not there. And it's no questions asked. It's like, hey, go take care of your family. And that's one of the beautiful things about the culture that we work in. You know, we're all millennials or Gen Z there. I think we have two people.
Added that.
I know we have two.
Than all y'all.
Yeah, we have two people. I think all three of us fall.
Holy shit.
Wait. You're a baby boomer?
No,
Damn.
I'm Gen Z.
Holy shit.
So I know most of us, though, are millennial or younger, actually.
Yeah.
And the fact that we all, like, we're a bunch of misfits. We're a bunch of, like, just crazy people. Is that red light still on? Yeah.
Maybe call them misfit.
All of us, especially me.
I'm all about the renegades, the rejects, and the refugees, man.
Yeah. Like, I sit upstairs, like, I get into work. I turn my light on to make sure there's nothing in my path from the door to the desk. I turn it off, sit at the computer for 8 hours
and then
in the dark.
To weird emo music that makes me want to vomit.
Hey, emo's not dead, man.
Yes, it is.
No.
It committed suicide a while back.
Maybe half of it. Maybe half of it. But
punk lives forever.
But the culture that we have is amazing.
Yeah.
And I worked at the Trailer Parts Outlet for about 1.5 years. And then our owner asked me to go help some of his family out with an endeavor, start up some YouTube stuff and some video stuff in a creative department, and I did. And I missed the culture, the family, the environment that we have at the Trailer Parts Outlet. And I came back after about 1 year, and I do not regret coming back at all because of that atmosphere. But because of the atmosphere we have, I don't care what I do for the company. I don't care what position I get put into. If I'm 99 years old and scrubbing out the toilet, I still want to be a part of this family.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the biggest things.
Can I get that last part of recording? Because when I ask you to do something next time,
When I'm 99, yes.
Oh, the nanny cam's getting him. I know that.
So Kiefer, let's turn the tables.
What drives you, and what makes you passionate about what you do?
So I'm going to answer the second one first, and the second one. The first
second
one.
one.
Just answer the question.
Good Lord.
Make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Math and logic do not drive him.
No. Okay, so what drives me is creating something. Whether that is a legacy, being able to build something for the trailer parts outlet that after I'm long dead and gone will still be there. That brand, that communication, whatever that looks like there. But being able to create those projects like this series, being able to see this to completion, I love that. Be able to grow the marketing for our company, not only because it feeds me, but it feeds the two of you, all of our trailer experts, our vice president, our president.
Speaking of which, if you find yourself in need of marketography, we can help you with all your marketing endeavors.
We started a marketing company because of the marketing we do and the growth we've had with the trailer parts outlet.
Se habla español.
Si hablo español.
Sí.
Si.
Dos X.
Por favor, call him. I don't know the rest in Spanish. That's about the extent of my Spanish. But seeing something grow is really what drives me and what fuels me to do better. Because as soon as I hit one mark, I want to go to the next one.
Yeah.
Whether that's video, whether that's photo, whether that's online marketing with our Google Ads, whatever that looks like. We're actually in the process of bringing everything in-house for our marketing. And my goal is to grow it better than our outside companies did.
Well, see, and I think we have a great group of people who there is no pinnacle. There is no, this is the end goal. Once I get here, I've done what I need to do.
There's checkpoints, but you never get to the finished level.
It's always, we're going to go further. We're going to push harder. We're going to do better. We're going to climb above where we're at now at all times. And there is no, once we've reached here, we're in a stagnant state where we stop.
The owner of our company is a really big fan of Gary Vee. And Gary Vee says that you cannot expect your employees to have the same drive, the same passion, the same work ethic as yourself. And I was in a conversation with Tyler, and this got brought up from a third party. We were all in a big conversation, and he was about to open his mouth, and I was like, let me answer this. And I told him, I have that same passion, that same drive, that same work ethic as he does. Now, granted, 98% of that same work ethic, because it's not my baby.
Yeah.
But still,
but it is at the same time.
It is, because the company provides for my family.
Exactly.
The better I do at work, the better revenue we have, therefore the better amenities, the better paycheck, whatever that looks like, comes towards us. So with all of us working towards that same, adding a slice of pie to the whole, it's going to be a bigger piece of pie.
Yeah.
And to me, that's my drive. That's my passion, is that the trailer parts outlet provides for me.
Well, see, and that attitude manifests itself differently depending on the person. Because I get what you're saying. Like, for me,
we all have families here.
Yeah, my ultimate goal isn't necessarily, doing what I can do because that company feeds me.
It's the stability it provides.
Well, no, you know me. I'm going to do better than anybody else. I'm going to push harder than anybody else. I'm going to go stronger and do everything to the furthest extent of my
stronger, better, faster.
Exactly. I am, the roided out guy who's going to push the most weight possible, because that is me. Stronger, better, faster.
Yeah.
That's what drives me. Having an atmosphere where that is encouraged is great. Mm-hmm. Because in the past, the job that I had before this, that wasn't acceptable. There was limitations. You can only do this. You can only go this far. You can only do this much. Otherwise,
you were one of those companies that if it's not your job, you can't do it.
Exactly.
We're here. That's blasphemy. If it's not your job, if you see someone in help, you get up, you go help, you go do it.
The words, "it's not my job," should not exist.
Juan, what drives you with what we do?
Me?
Yes.
Damn. You asked me.
I like a paycheck.
Money. That drives me. But no. So, at one of my old jobs, I was told that I'd never amount to anything.
Amen. I've been told that many a times.
So, in the position I was when I started from the top, or started from the bottom, and I've grown within this company from regular sales to sales manager to product manager to purchase manager, whatever you want to call my title now. But the drive is just being able to reach that next level, and that level is always growing.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't get put a cap of this is how far you can go. And
we have our goals, but that goal isn't our cap.
But there's no end goal.
Yeah.
You know, that's the beauty of it, is like,
once we hit that, it becomes a checkpoint.
exactly.
yeah, what's next? What's the next milestone to hit? Then keep going. But
Going back to, well, at least my generation, you know, I guess you guys are part of the video game generation.
Yeah, we're a couple months apart. He's a good 6 years ahead of us.
The games that irritated
this
me
is
the
brought to
most
you by AARP.
playing the video games that annoyed me the most when I was younger were the ones where you could actually reach the end. You know, you beat the game, and now it's like, well, I just invested in that game for my Super Nintendo, showing my age here, or regular Nintendo. Now, what's that game worth? I can replay all the same levels again, but I'll never go any further.
I think the one game that nobody ever beat was The Lion King on Sega Genesis. That was the devil of a game.
You just showed your age, because I never played The Lion King because that was way too young for me. I'm like, I played Joust and got to level 199.
I don't think I ever played The Lion King, so you're on your own.
But you know, there's those games that you just, you know, you got to what you thought would be the end, and it continues. And it was just a continuous, you got to get better, you got to get faster, you got to get stronger, you have to completely just bypass everything you thought was possible before. You know, that's
the attitude of our company.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. You got to bypass everything you thought you could ever do.
Now, the difference is there's much more of a reward than just seeing, you know, stars pop up on a screen as you're playing a video game.
Yeah, there's numbers in the bank.
Well, there's numbers in the bank, but there's also the support.
Yes.
The encouragement, whether you want to call it attaboys, cookies, or pats on the back, you know, you're getting that constant encouragement, you know, and that is something that cannot be downplayed.
Yeah, and especially with the people we have, people look at, what's the 20-year-olds now, like Gen Y or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's like the I generation. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is. Like, so the millennials and then the ones after them, you know, that's mainly 90% of our company. And we have a bunch of go-getters. You know, we have some that are better than others, but at the same time, as a whole, out of the most, like, what the world considers the most worthless generations, we're kicking ass and taking names because we have the freedom to prove ourselves. You know, it's not hey, you have 20 sales, you can't do more than that because someone else needs their job as well. It's, everybody, answer that phone, show me what you got, and the training, the coaching, as you said, the encouragement.
Yeah, we don't have a cap within the store.
That's it.
Because when I started, I used to put a cap on myself. I used to say, all right, well, I'd hit 20 grand for the week, that suffice. Then the VP shot me over a book, and I read the book.
What book was that? Do you remember?
10X Rules.
10X Rules. That's a great book.
Yeah. Good book. If you haven't read it, it's a good book, especially if you're in sales. But opened my eyes to a lot of things. I was like, well, I'm the only one controlling my capital. So I went from 20,000 to 30, 40, 50, and it just continued to grow. So,
and that's the biggest thing is like our only limitations with our company is ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, if, you know, Ryan, you do a lot of the after hours phone calls.
of the avatar.
Yeah, all of them. And, you know, there's times where you are
You
eating.
can call them at 10 o'clock at night.
You can. Doesn't mean I'll answer.
You know, but
But if
there's,
I'm awake, I will answer.
there's times where you're eating dinner, or, you know, you're doing something with the family.
Or we're getting ready to have a Bible study, and I'm in the bedroom taking an order.
Literally, Wednesday night when I came over for Bible study, you were literally in there. Like, we waited on you to get done with it before we started. Like, that shows, like, not just any company people would work for would you interrupt that kind of time for.
Exactly.
But because of the encouragement, the atmosphere, that family that we have, you're like, I need to take care of this.
Because I know that I work for a company that's going to do the same for me. And not just do the same for me, but do the same for our customers.
Yep.
And so it's something that goes beyond just working a 9 to 5. I know that if I put in this extra effort, it's not only recognized, it's not only appreciated, it's not only rewarded, but it's something that is
Cherished. It's cherished.
Yeah, cherished is probably the best word for it. And what that does is that turns around and it translates to the customer. Because their coming to us is going to be cherished in the same way that my efforts are cherished, and the same with the suppliers, even from on the other end of things. You know, the suppliers and the way they work with us is going to be cherished, and they're going to see that response from us. The networking and the relationships that we build within this business they're so foundational to not just success, but success in a way that is defined more than just dollars in the bank.
You know,
success that is expansion. It goes to every aspect. You know, the customer succeeds, we succeed, the supplier succeeds.
You know, we're a trailer parts company. You wouldn't think that a trailer parts company is interested in the growth of our customers.
Yeah.
You know, you would think like the O'Reillys or like the big name auto parts store, hey, what do you need? Thanks, come again. Whereas we want to see you succeed, because if you succeed, that's more parts, that's more of that. But not only that, it's, you know, we want to help you grow, because that's what we do.
Well, and also, look, why are we called trailer experts? We're not called trailer parts salespeople.
No.
We're called trailer experts because you can call us and we're going to walk you through it.
And a lot of our trailer experts have been under trailers.
Yes, exactly.
You know, we know the parts. You know, I spent a year at a trailer manufacturing company where I had to do a bunch of repair videos. And so instead of having one of their guys do it that were repair shops, I would literally go and, hey, all right, teach me how to do this.
Yeah.
And so whether that's springs, whether that's greasing, whether that's tire changes, wheel changes, a jack install, whatever that looks like, I've done a lot of that.
Yep.
Now, is it side of the road emergency style? No. It was a very controlled, instructed atmosphere. But even me, like, I'm not a trailer expert, but I have a fraction of the experience that most people that answer the phone to the trailer parts outlet have. You know, Juan has been under, I don't know how many trailers in the last 2.5 years, whether it's quoting repairs, he's helped out with some of the repairs. I know he's fixed trailers in the past. He has a few trailers of his own that he's worked on. So it's like, we know this stuff.
Yeah. And my point behind that is, you know, the customer ought not feel guilty or feel bad about calling and just wanting some advice. Mm-hmm. It's not just about making a sale for us. It's about being able to be there to support the customer.
Exactly.
Building a relationship.
Exactly. So if you need help with assembling it, if you need help with what you need to do to get that trailer back up and running, that's what we're there for.
And it was, what, 5:30 now, still doing paperwork, and a customer pulled up. Never met the guy. Him and his family were traveling to, I want to say, Galveston, and their trailer burnt up. Shop guys were already gone. Looked at it, all it was needed was a hub replaced. Told them, if you pull it in the shop, I'll go ahead and change it out for you.
Yeah.
Took about 30, 40 minutes to get everything, jack it up, take the wheel off, take the bearings off, clean the spindle, grease it, put it back together, get them back on the road.
How many parts places after hours would not only sell the part, but also do an install of the part just to get them back on the road?
And part three of that, how many are going to have people that are staying there after hours to do stuff? your typical place of business, that clock hits 5 o'clock, everybody's gone.
You know, we have one guy. He's a car hauler for CarMax. He goes from Houston to Dallas, Dallas to Houston, Houston to Dallas. Really good customer of ours. And he was about 50 miles away from the shop. Tire blew, didn't have a spare. He called one of our guys up. Hey, I'm in a pickle. Now, this guy has spent in a bunch of money with us. Really good client of ours. And the trailer parts expert who answered the phone was like, where are you at? And this was like 4:30 in the afternoon. And he's like, all right, that's about an hour from me. Give me about an hour and a half. Let me close up shop. I will bring that out to you. I will help you install
Absolutely.
it. No additional charges or anything like that. This guy took his own time, his own effort, threw it in the back of his truck, drove an hour towards Houston, and took care of him. This is also a guy that has been with us for 3 years, and probably because of that act alone will be with us for the next 10, 20 years as long as he's hauling. And that's where that relationship comes in.
Yep.
You know, as big as a company as we are, we're not bound by corporate rules.
Yeah.
We're bound by relationships. And those relationships dictate our success. And even in my position and what I do and where I'm at in the company, if I can help in any way, I'm going to do that, even if it's outside of my quote-unquote job. Like, we're all packing and helping ship stuff right now. I sit at an AEC office behind a desk creating websites, graphics for ads, and running our social media and doing this kind of stuff. But I have no issue jumping down those stairs in the Texas heat inside of an unair-conditioned metal building and helping when I need to and where I need to.
You know, and I think
Stay hydrated, my friend.
and I think that's one of the things I love most, because you know me personally probably better than anybody. And one thing that my kids are not allowed to say is I can't.
I can, or dirty words.
Yeah. They're not allowed to say I can't, because you can say I'm unwilling and deal with the consequences of being unwilling to do something. But to say I can't limits yourself.
Exactly.
And when somebody says that's not my job,
Oh, that burned.
that's no different than saying I can't to me.
You know, I've been a part of a few interviews over the years. And one was a learning exercise from our boss. He throws us in these weird, awkward situations on a whim.
Yes, he does.
And
Tyler, we love you for it.
Oh, yes. But he threw me in an interview one day and said, hey, I want you to lead this interview. And I was like, not in my department, not in my, so I am totally thrown off.
Here, take the reins.
And one of the questions he always asked, even in the interview that I had 3.5, 4, 5 years ago, whenever that was,
whenever 5 years?
Well, no, it was if you see someone struggling outside of your department, and you have a bunch of stuff to do, what is your response? And what he's looking for is to see if you say, that's not my job, or I'm going to go get permission to help, or that kind of thing. Whereas I'm
going to jump in.
I'm going to take care of my stuff, and I'm going to help them with their stuff, whether I stay late or come in early the next day, whatever that looks like. Because it's not my job is not part of our vocabulary at the Trailer Parts Outlet. Whether it's the repair guys, whether it's inventory, whether it's sales. I know there's times where I've walked through on a Monday morning and all the phones were crazy and it's still ringing. I don't know how to use our system to put in an order. I mean, I barely do. I can get by with it, but
you can write it down.
Hey, the Trailer Parts Outlet, how can I help you? Yeah, I think I can help you here, but I'm honest. And I'm like, I'm not a sales guy. They're all on the phones. I'm just pitching in where I can.
Yep.
But that's not my job, but I do. I do it because of the atmosphere we have, because of the company we work for and the people we work with.
It takes it from that's not my job to it's my pleasure to do so.
Yeah, and just like for your family, whether it's your brother, your sister, your kid, you're going to go out of your way to make sure they succeed. Well, by whatever sacrifice.
That might not always be comfortable.
No.
There's a lot.
It's hot.
Texas heat in a warehouse is never comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw rain falling from this guy today, so.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I am so happy to work for the company we do. And what's really funny is we're starting this now, but a lot of trailer companies right now are starting to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
The two that I know of are actually, one's a manufacturer and one's a components parts company. And there's a lot of leadership growth coming out of these companies. Yeah. Because a lot of them are like ours. They're smaller companies that have grown, but they still keep that atmosphere. And to me, that it's an oddity in the manufacturing or distribution industry. Because you have the companies that like supply Walmart and go stock shelves, and where there's no interactions, you don't know your coworkers, where we develop such close relationships together.
Yeah.
It's an oddity. And that's why I'm happy to be here.
Well, honestly, then, like I said, that comes down to leadership. There is a misunderstanding when it comes to leadership for many years, and as you know, I've studied leadership most of my life. You know?
Well, Six Sigma and
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that has more to do with organizational things, and inventory. And
shows my knowledge on it.
But when it comes to leadership, there's multiple different styles of leadership. There's the coaching, there's the directive, there's multiple different styles that you can use. But when it comes to leadership, the most important thing that can be in place is the idea of being a coworker. There's a graphic that is just beyond anybody's understanding. No, it shows this is a supervisor, and it shows a guy standing over a ditch while multiple people are down shoveling in the ditch, and it says this is a leader, and he's the one at the front of the ditch digging.
It's an inverse triangle. Exactly. Because you have what would be minions and other companies at the top that is actually giving the advice, giving they're not afraid to speak up on things that could be changed.
We feel like we're all involved in the whole effort.
Well, we don't feel we are.
Yeah, exactly. To where in a lot of situations, you're disconnected from the top. We're not that way. We have monthly or weekly or monthly, fellowships where we all get together and have a meal together with the owner of the company there the majority of the time. It remains a family, just knitted atmosphere.
Yeah.
Where you feel like not just I feel obligated because it's my job to do it, but I'm doing it because I enjoy these people and I want to benefit them.
Exactly. And that goes back to day one. Like I remember when we were an 8-person team. It's changed slightly just because the size that we are, but it's the same atmosphere as when there was 8 of us to where there's 23 now? You said 22 now. And we have
number.
And we have some people like my wife who works remote.
Wait, does that make me number 22?
You are 22.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's my favorite number.
So, Ryan's been with us for the grand total of, as this comes out, which should be
tomorrow,
the day after we film this. So, I know what I'm doing in the morning, editing this.
After he does his packages.
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks on Friday, because you started 2 Mondays ago. 2 weeks ago on the 22nd. 2 weeks ago, he's the 22nd employee.
There you go.
And it's one of those things that, because of what has been built, the growth is so successful. Whether that's revenue, whether that's the team, whether that's the products we get in, the relationships we build, not only with our customers, but also some of the vendors we work with. And that's the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway with all of this is, and Ryan's heard me talk for years about working for our company, and he's been listening to this and hearing this and like, no, you're lying, no, it's not that. He steps in for an interview and instantly was like, yeah, no, all that was true. I love this place, I want to work here, and since he's been here, he's seen that every little aspect of it. Yeah, there's frustrating times, there's stressful times, but ultimately, because of the atmosphere and the culture that we have, and it's hard to define because yes, it's family, yes, it's business, but it's one and the same. It really, the military term, I got your 6, really describes all of it.
Well, and a lot of it comes back to the owner, the leadership.
A 22. Well, now he's 23.
23.
As of a couple months ago, he's 23 years old, And he's been featured by Inc. 5000, Forbes, CBS Radio, all these other kind of companies that
And it's not for no reason at all, because I sat down for a 30-minute interview with the guy, and he asked questions that made me realize this is the guy that I want to work for. Because he didn't ask the comfortable questions, the easy questions. He asked the questions that force you to think.
It F's your mind up because you're like, why is he asking this? I've never been asked this in an interview.
Because he's asking questions that don't just want to, they're not generic, copy and paste questions. They're questions that say, I want to know who you are fundamentally.
Well, Juan has heard the story before, and over the years I've told you probably. I walked into my interview and saw who was behind the desk, and I was like, no, I'm not going to work for a dude 10 years younger than me thinking he's all that. I'm going to give him 10 minutes, and I'm going to make up an excuse to leave, and that's going to be it. 2 hours later, I accepted the job, and I was excited to work here, no matter his age, but he captivated me with the way, with the way he thought, with the way he led, with his ideas.
Yeah.
And 4.5 years later, I'm still as excited as day one. He hires for the person, and that counts a lot. Not for the position. You might not have all the skills for the position he's hiring you for.
He'll help you grow.
But he'll help you grow. He will coach you. He will mentor you. If you're in the sales department or item fulfillment, there's one that will coach you through all of that stuff as well as him. You have multiple people, no matter what you do, that you can rely on.
One of the most profound things that he said to me is, why would I hire you? Because, like we said, I'm going to be 40 in just less than 6 months. Yeah. So one of the questions he asked me was, why should I hire somebody your age
we have his walker right off camera here,
who doesn't have a day's worth of sales experience on his resume, when I could hire somebody that's half your age and has experience in sales? And that forced me to go beyond what I was used to go beyond what I would normally even think.
It puts you in a place that you weren't comfortable thinking about to be able to answer it.
I had to say, look, every time we have an interaction with another human being, what are we doing?
Selling ourselves, selling an idea,
exactly.
selling.
Whether it's a woman you're interested in, or whether it's somebody that you hope to have some kind of friendship with in the future, you're selling yourself to that person.
Yep.
And so he forced me to take a concept that I'd never really examined before, and think about it in a way that I could say, hey, this is why I should be a part of this team.
Yeah.
And so the questions he asks, they're challenging in a way that expands you, that makes you more than you were.
And this isn't us just trying to talk up our boss to,
No.
No, this is literally what it's like.
Are watching.
Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
How you doing?
He's actually working on a personal project, I would say, in Palm Springs, California right now. So, to his testament, he has built a company that functions with or without him.
Absolutely.
And that goes a lot to our vice president, who she's on the phone with him an hour at least a day.
A juggernaut of business.
How she, in one day, she loves 17 different days.
Yeah, right.
And she's handling the repair shop, she's handling the parts fulfillment, and
she puts up with Kiefer.
Yeah, she puts up with me all day, and I'm the worst. I will just walk into her office and sit down and wait for an available moment, and then unload 16 pounds of crap on her, and walk upstairs. And she always has a solution for anything and everything. Yep. Which, how she does that, I have no idea. And Juan, you're the same way with your sales guys. That when they have an issue, you go above and beyond anything and everything imaginable by a supervisor or a manager. And whether it's a product not being able to be found, you find it, you go above and beyond for your team. I don't necessarily, I work with a lot of third-party companies and stuff like that. So I don't have anybody I can do that for, but I wish that I could be like y'all. And the day that I do have a team behind me, I hope I can be like y'all. And that's a testament to what this company is nowadays too, and what it's turned into. But I think that about does it for this episode.
Is that the end of the list?
I think so. Let's see.
Remember, he don't know how to count.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look at him pretending like he can count.
I know, right? No, that's it. That's it. Just a couple questions on there that we answered out of order.
Right.
But I think for the first installment of From the Trailer to the Couch, I think this completes it. If y'all have any questions, if y'all have anything that y'all would like us to tackle, whether it's parts information, whether it's industry news, anything like that, leave it in a comment below. Like, subscribe, all that jazz so we can grow this. But hopefully we're going to try to do this at least bi-weekly, at least twice a month. See, I can't count. Bi is 2. There's 4 in a month, sometimes 5, depending on what month it is. So at least twice a month, we want to do this. And also, if you're a brewery or,
Or make hot sauce.
hit us up. And
We take tacos too, but we know those can't be shipped, so.
And
yeah,
if you want to drive a food truck.
Yeah, if you drive a food truck,
we will do this episode in front of a food truck.
there you go.
And you'll see that the location changes, whether it's my office or one of our houses. We use whatever available for us at that time. But we will have beer, and we will make a conversation out of it, and hopefully it's entertaining.
Amen.
So we'll see y'all next time. And until then, God bless and have a good time.